Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Torii plus Jira webinar. Optimize licenses, generate tickets, and trigger workflows, all within Torii. In this session, we'll explore how Torii seamlessly optimizes your Atlassian products, slashing license spend, automating IT processes, and delegating SaaS tasks, all within the Torii platform. But before we get started, we have a few housekeeping rules. For an optimal connection, we recommend using computer audio in place of your telephone. All microphones are automatically set on mute to limit background noise. And please submit any questions through the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. We will address all questions at the end. And now I'd like to introduce our speakers, Torii's distinguished solution engineer, Steve Desa, and Torii's information architect, John Baker. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we really appreciate you taking some time and spending it with us. So a little bit about today's presentation. Myself, along with Steve Desa, we're going to talk through one of the big problems that IT is facing today, and that is all about combating burnout. You know it, I know it, we're tired, we're busy, we've got a lot going on, and for no group is that more true than for the modern IT. So today we're going to talk through a little bit about the problem, but we're also going to talk about how Torii is uniquely positioned to help. We're going to talk about some of the key capabilities that Torii has for addressing these issues, including triggering workflows via ITSMs, and also a unique integration, a deep integration that Torii has with Jira. So we're going to talk through those a little bit, and then Steve is going to do a walkthrough of the Torii system to show you exactly how Torii works for solving these problems. We're then going to talk through a success story with one of our customers, and we're going to wrap it up with a question and answer at the end. So if you have any questions, anything you really want to get out of your head and get into the chat, please add those questions as we go along. We'll be sure to collect them and address those questions at the end of the presentation. So let's jump in, and we're going to talk a little bit about this problem, as I was mentioning earlier, and that is that the modern IT group is just really burned out. They're really tired. There's too many tickets. There's shadow IT in every corner of the organization. And there's a really high turnover rate that includes the IT department as well. And so as a result of that, IT teams are spending a lot of time on really time-consuming tasks that require a lot of manual work. That can be things like employee lifecycle management, like onboarding and offboarding tasks. It could also be access control, making sure that different individuals have the right access to the right features within the tools that they have. And then all of this is spread out throughout multiple applications. So they're constantly jumping from one admin view to another, trying to manage all of these things. And on top of it all, they often have to be in charge of license management, making sure that the tool that they're paying for, that they're actually getting proper value out of it. And so the result is just a lot of context switching, a lot of jumping from one tab to the next. And that's actually a really big problem. There's some recent research that showed the way that this impacts our daily lives. Now, according to the Harvard Business Review, they recently did a study and they found that about 12,000 times, that's how many times a day employees are switching tabs. For myself, it's probably closer to 24,000. It might resonate with you. But the point is that we're all really busy and we're jumping around doing a lot of different things. And that really hurts the bottom line of our productivity. It can actually impact us to the effect of an 80% reduction in the productivity of our working time per day. We know that every time we switch context, it actually takes a significant chunk of time for our mind to properly realign with the new task that's at hand. And that really undermines our focus. It really undermines our productivity. And it prevents us all from doing the deep, impactful work that we really want to be doing. So this is what Torii, as I mentioned, is uniquely positioned to try and address. Torii, from the very beginning, was designed to be one platform to manage all other platforms. And that means that it's all about bringing the data and the capabilities of the rest of the SaaS ecosystem all into one place. And that one place is trying to connect all of those different tools so that you can discover more, you can get more insights, more data, see it all within Torii, you can save more money, and then you can actually do more with it. It's not just about understanding there's a problem and seeing the insights. It's then about being able to take action and doing it all from one place. So we're going to talk a little bit about how Torii brings things in, but we're really going to talk about how Torii enables you to do more through the processes of automation and with these external systems. So just a high-level overview of a couple of the things that Steve is about to walk us through. We're going to talk about how you can trigger workflows from your ITSMs so that you can automate your SaaS tasks, even from those external systems. So that means that you can connect and manage some of these really critical, these really important tools, such as Jira's or the ServiceNows. And you can do so from within Torii so that you're not having to spend all your time jumping from all these different apps. You can actually do that from within Torii, but still leverage all of that capability. And you do this through Torii's robust workflows. We're just going to scratch the surface in terms of the capabilities of these workflows, because that would be a whole other webinar talking about all that they can do. But these workflows are really powerful. They're really flexible, and they allow you to do more and create these processes that are sustainable and repeatable and essentially go on autopilot. So you can automate these SaaS tasks across all of your core IT tools, all from within Torii. That could be things like application requests. It could be things like user onboarding. When someone is joining the company and you need to give them access to a lot of tools all at once, Torii can automate a ton of that process. And it's also for user offboarding on the other side of the spectrum, where your concern is less about efficiency and maybe a little bit more about security, where you want to make sure that users don't have access to that valuable IP. Torii gives you that peace of mind so that you can handle those offboarding processes both efficiently, but more importantly, securely. And Torii is also optimized for allowing you to optimize your licenses so that you can make sure that you can reclaim and reharvest these licenses and manage all of your tools to make sure you're getting the best value for what you're paying for. We're also going to talk specifically about Torii's deep integration with Jira. Everybody loves Jira because it's so powerful and allows you to do so much. And that's why we think it's really important that Torii has a unique connection with Jira. And that means that we have a deep bidirectional integration with this tool, so that especially in the cases of offboarding, you can create these tickets, but you can also monitor their progress from within Torii. So all from one view, you can actually see the status of these critical tasks to make sure that offboarding process is done correctly and done all the way to completion. You can also use Torii's connection with Jira to delegate some key SaaS tasks, including the renewal processes, app security reviews, employee onboarding and offboarding, and really so much more. So that's a little bit of the overview, but now I'm going to hand it off to Steve, who's actually going to show you how we do all these things within Torii. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to you, Steve. Take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to bring up the Torii admin console here, which should show up in just a second. There we are. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to scroll down to how do we get started? And really that comes down to let's get Jira and let's get Atlassian connected. So when it comes down to connecting your Jira instance, first thing we want to do is go out, create an API key, and that would allow us to then get this going, and it will allow us to get started. Go into Jira, create an API key, paste this into Torii, and then you're on your way. Once you've done this, the next thing that you're going to want to do is scroll up to the Atlassian integration. Okay, the Atlassian integration, right? Very similar, different spot. This is admin.atlassian.com. Generate an API key. It will generate an organization key, and you paste that in here as well.
Now, Steve, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but I just have to ask, why do we have two separate integrations?
Great question. So there is inside Atlassian multiple different APIs. Jira has an API. Atlassian has an admin API. The Atlassian admin API encompasses all the Atlassian products. It allows us to reach out into Atlassian and pull back your Bitbucket licenses, your Trello licenses, your Confluence licenses, and bring all that data back into the platform. Now, in addition to that, the admin API allows us to also bring in the last use date into Torii.
So that sounds a bit like a silver bullet. So why even bother with the Jira integration?
So there is one catch to really this, and really is for some customers, it's not a big deal. But to use the admin API of Atlassian, you do have to have your accounts managed. Okay. Now, managed essentially means that you have to go to admin.atlassian.com and you have to verify your domain. Once you verify your domain in the Atlassian console, then we will be able to then sync all those accounts for that domain into Torii. Okay. There is also one extra piece that the Jira integration does provide us. Now, the Jira integration is also going to allow us to treat usage a little bit different. So when we look at Jira, what we're looking for are, when do people create or update comments? When are they attaching or changing an item, or they've worked on the work log? All these elements count as usage. So, in most cases, we're going to recommend you connect both, because you're going to get a different element of usage coming from Jira. And you're going to get the last login date from the admin API that comes from Atlassian. But also, today we're here talking about the Jira integration. We're talking about creating tickets. To do that, we're going to need to connect the Jira integration. So as far as what Tori's recommending, if you can have a verified domain, connect the Atlassian integration. If you, and then as well, connect the Jira integration. Okay.
Got it. So if we have a verified domain within Atlassian, we go with the Atlassian integration.
Absolutely. But when we're ready to create tickets, you're going to need that Jira integration. Okay. So to get started here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new workflow within Torii. Okay. Now we're going to demonstrate this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build out a workflow. I'm going to build out a license not in use workflow. Okay. Now it really doesn't matter what setting I use within here. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep this as an Asana in here. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to create a Jira Cloud issue. Now, inside of this, when I create my Jira Cloud issue, I'm going to have to select what project within Jira am I going to create. I'm just going to go ahead and create a task. And I'm going to use the environment variables here that are going to allow me to use and build out the necessary data points that I need and how I want to call this. I'm going to call this trigger license name is not in use. And we'll say first name is not using their license. Okay. Very, very, very simple. I'm just going to complete the rest of the required fields. Now, if you're not familiar with Torii, we do have the ability to test these workflows out by running workflows manually. I'm going to do that right now just to showcase this license not in use. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to search this for a test user that I have in the system. I'm going to choose the license that I want to test this for. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this manually. So this is very similar to having the scenario run through in its normal courses where we're going to see a user with an Asana license that's been inactive for 30 days. And then what's going to happen is we're going to use Torii to create that ticket directly inside of Jira. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and view these logs. We see here that the task has run, the state's completed. I'm going to go and click on the logs, and Torii also shows me a link to the ticket. So I'm going to go ahead here, be able to pull back. I can see that the ticket has been properly created inside of Jira. Okay, now the next element that I wanted to showcase, it comes down to offboarding. So when we want to do offboarding, I'm going to go to the users tab right here. Now, when I go to the users tab, I'm going to go ahead and search for that same user that I was just testing with. And here we are here. Now, this user has one app, and I do have an offboarding action of this app that when I deprovision a user, it is going to create a Jira ticket. I'm going to go ahead and just start this offboarding. Now, in reality, what happens here is this is going to obviously be triggered with our HRMS system. That's what would happen in a real world scenario. Now, I've manually come in here. I've started the configuration process. Now, this offboarding request is showing up as in progress, right? There's a Jira ticket already created for this. I'm going to go through and I'm going to mark this ticket as done. Okay, so now I've gone through, there has been a ticket that has been created in Jira. Now, this process is designed to be offline. So the IT person gets this ticket, they need to remove the user from Okta, they've gone through, they marked it as done. Now, Torii is going to do a bidirectional sync with Jira to pull this data back into the platform. Now, this can take a couple minutes to do. Tell you what, John, while we're waiting for this, do we have any questions in the chat? Oh, sorry, Tracy, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, we do have several questions coming in. One of them, our company uses Trello. Does Torii also monitor those licenses?
Absolutely. So by using the Atlassian integration, we're going to pull back your Trello free licenses, your Trello premium licenses, your Trello enterprise licenses. You'll be able to pull that back and we will be able to get the last login date, but because we were using the Atlassian admin API. Now, once again, remember that to use the Atlassian admin API, you do need a verified domain within Atlassian.
All right, next question. Cost visibility is a high priority for my company. Does Torii offer benchmarking to see how much we should be paying for different apps?
Absolutely. On the licenses page, and let's go to the licenses page right now. I mean, I didn't show this earlier. We're going to be pulling back the licenses that we have for Confluence, for Jira, for Bitbucket, for Trello, etc. Now, inside of this, you'll be able to pull back, and we'll show you the benchmarks as well along on this, and you'll be able to see that within the Torii product. Now, while we're waiting, I'm just going to jump to the offboarding process. Now, we can see that this offboarding is still in progress. Let me just hit refresh to see if this is still complete. Nope. While we're waiting, Tracy, any more questions we have in the chat?
Yes. We use Atlassian, but not for Jira, not Jira for ticketing. Does Torii also create tickets with Freshservice?
With Torii, you can create tickets in Freshservice, in Zendesk, in all the different ITSM tools. We have out-of-the-box actions. We also have the ability to create custom actions as well. And that will allow us to create tickets in all these systems. However, when it comes down to this bidirectional sync, this is something unique that Torii has in the market. This is something that Torii has the ability to not only create those tickets, but pull that data back to reflect that what's inside the product. So this bidirectional sync is something that's only available with Jira, but we can absolutely create tickets in all the different ticketing systems. And there we can see I've now refreshed the system. User one, we can see that offboarding has been completed and that ticket has been marked as done. Okay, so inside of this really shows you, in fact, that real-time bidirectional sync here is ultimately going to allow us to have this offline process where we can now manage tickets inside of Jira and show that reflected back inside of Torii. Okay, now the next thing that I wanted to talk about here was the application catalog. Now, Torii has an application catalog. If you've never seen it, we do have a catalog that you can use to request access to various different applications. Now, with the app catalog, we have the ability to have access policies. These access policies can be creating accounts, can be creating, can run through various different processes. We can create accounts directly in various different target apps. We can integrate with other providers such as Okta or Azure or any identity provider to add users into groups, remove users into groups. Torii has a very extremely powerful workflow engine. But when it comes down to the access catalog, the app catalog, there may be other products in use. You might be using Jira to do requesting access. And that's what we're going to show next. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to log into Jira under a different profile. Now, in here, I'm going to go ahead and say, I want to request access to an application. I'm now going to go request new software. Inside of this, I'm going to request access to Box. I'm going to say, please give me access to Box. And this was approved by my manager. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to submit this request. Now, once we do this, we have the ability to do approvals. We have the ability to do the approvals inside of Jira. We have the ability to do those approvals inside of Torii. You can, in essence, do whatever combination you want to do this. Now, I'm going to swap back to my other profile. And I'm going to, let's refresh this screen. In here, let me go to the Box access policy. I will see the policy run. And there we have that user requested access to Box, right? This audit trail here is going to allow me to have, full visibility to what's being requested and demonstrate, how we can do this request access. Now, I just showed you this from Jira, but ultimately, this is an API that you can call that can be used from a variety of different applications to invoke Torii workflows. Okay. That is really the core things that I wanted to talk about today. Tracy, any questions we have? I'm going to stop sharing for now. And let's kind of walk through any questions that we do have.
Yes, we have some more. Can we configure an approval in Torii after submitting the request from Jira?
Yeah, absolutely. I just mentioned this previously, but inside of Jira, you can do the approval. Inside of Torii, you can do that approval. You can get very flexible in how we do these. And you can do these however you want it, but you can absolutely do approvals, notifications, what have you.
All right, great. Next question. I feel like emails are often left unread within our company. Does Torii offer other ways to notify people about tickets?
Excellent. Now, interesting question. So when it comes down to notifications, you can notify by Slack, you can notify by Teams, even if you want to send a Google message, you can do that as well. Now, when it comes down to the tickets, right? You can do that in Torii. You can send it through email, through Slack, through Teams. But if you're going to be creating the ticket inside of Jira, you're probably better off just letting Jira send that notification so that they have access and they're aware of that ticket and configure that directly within Jira.
Okay. Next question. Can I assign tickets in Jira from Torii?
Absolutely. So now Torii's brought in the ability to assign who the ticket is going to be assigned to. And you have the ability to also set who the reporter is, right? So now this is the case that if you're using the Torii app catalog to do that, who is the requester and who is it going to be assigned? Both can be done within Torii.
Okay. Next question. Which API call do we use from Jira to request an application? Or is this outlined in the API documentation, and where can I find that?
Excellent. So the API is the Trigger App Access Request Policy. And you'll find this inside our API docs that are available from our website.
Okay, great. Can we integrate with Slack if we only have the Pro plan?
So the integration with Slack, you can absolutely integrate Torii with Slack if you're on the pro plan. Where you might run into a problem is if you want to do onboarding and offboarding. So per the Slack API, the onboarding and offboarding does require a plus or higher. But when it comes down to integrating Slack, pulling in your licenses, being able to send Slack notifications, absolutely, you can integrate that with Torii.
Great. It looks like we have time for just one more question. But first, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. If we didn't get a chance to answer your question, we'll be sure to follow up after the webinar. And if you'd like to book a demo with us, we've got a QR code here on the screen. The last question, does Torii have an application catalog? If so, can we use that for app requests, but still use Jira to create service tickets?
Absolutely. Right. The app catalog in Torii is designed, it's there for you to use. You can create filters to only show your sanctioned applications in there and keep those closed ones off. The app catalog can also, if somebody looks for an app that may not be sanctioned, we will recommend a sanctioned one. And then the policies within the app access catalog, you'll be able to create Jira tickets just like how I demoed today.
Great. Thank you, Steve and John, and thank you everyone for joining us today.